Welcome to Shadowed Realms, unveiling the dark lore. A deep dive into the hidden depths of video games, movies, and anime where light rarely dares to venture. From the cryptic symbolism of a haunted video game world to the twisted backstories of iconic characters, we'll analyze the dark narratives that shape these immersive universes. Expect a mix of thoughtful analysis, historical context, and an occasional deep dive into the psychological and philosophical themes that these stories explore. But this series isn't just about the spooky surface level stuff. We'll also look to the cultural and psychological and artistic reasons why these dark themes resonate with audiences and what they say about us as people. Buckle up, because these things are about to get creepy and maybe even a little introspective. Are you ready to step into the shadows? Let's go. Welcome to Myth and Lores, a journey into the dark and divine. Without further ado, let's jump into another lore. The legacy and symbolism of Teresa. Teresa's story is one of beauty, tragedy, and sacrifice. She represents the potential for humanity within the Claymores, a glimpse of light in a world defined by darkness. Her power, grace, and unyielding morality set her apart from others, and though she was a killing machine, she was never fully consumed by her Yoma side. Teresa's journey symbolizes the struggle to retain humanity in an inhumane world. While the other Claymores gradually lose themselves to their power and the horrors of their existence, Teresa's compassion and sense of justice remain intact until the end. Claire's journey is inextricably tied to Teresa's. Her pursuit of vengeance on Priscilla is also set in a quest of self-identity. By adopting Teresa's strength and fighting for what she stood for, Claire embodies the aspects of humanity that she preserved. In many ways, Claire becomes the person Teresa would have hoped to be had she survived. Teresa's smile. Her faint smile is a powerful symbol. It suggests that despite her brutal life, Teresa had peace and resolve, a peaceful, almost serene acceptance of her fate, even amid a cruel, unforgiving world. Her smile lives as a reminder of the other Claymores that they can retain some semblance of their humanity. Teresa's transformation into a legendary figure was never just about power. It was about what she represented, the potential for goodness in a monstrous world, the fight against becoming the very thing one is created to destroy. Her death marked the end of that hope, but it ignited a flame in Claire that would burn through the series, fueling future struggles and moments of humanity amidst chaos. Teresa's death profoundly impacted several key characters in Claymore. Not only did her death shape the story's trajectory, but it also became a catalyst for character development, revenge, and internal conflict. Here's a deeper exploration of how Teresa's tragic end affected the other main characters. Claire, the legacy of vengeance and humanity. For Claire, Teresa's death was not just the loss of a mentor and surrogate mother, it was a defining moment of her entire existence. Teresa's influence would continue to shape Claire's decisions and actions throughout the series. Claire's primary motivation after Teresa's death is vengeance. She swears to avenge Teresa by killing Priscilla, the awakened being who killed her. This vow sets the stage for her transformation into a Claymore. Claire actively seeks to become a Claymore, even undergoing the painful process of the Yoma transformation to gain strength needed to defeat Priscilla. Teresa's death is the spark that ignites Claire's internal struggle between her desire for vengeance and her struggle to retain her humanity. Despite her desire for revenge, Claire is also deeply affected by Teresa's death on an emotional level. Her love for Teresa is not just about protection or mentorship, it's a bond rooted in Teresa's humanity, something that Claire longs to hold on to in a brutal world of the Claymores. Throughout her journey, Claire often grapples with guilt, loneliness, and the fear of losing her humanity as she fights in Teresa's name. Teresa's death constantly reminds her of what she stands to lose in her quest for revenge and the choices she makes, often prioritizing vengeance over personal safety, reflect the cost of this obsession. As Claire continues her journey, she learns that true strength doesn't come from revenge alone. Even after her death, Teresa's influence helps Claire to understand that there's more to fight for than hatred. By the end of the series, Claire learns to balance the vengeful fire within her with the love and humanity Teresa showed her. She continues to carry the weight of Teresa's legacy, but grows into her own person, not just Teresa's avenger, but a force of her own. Priscilla, the embodiment of Teresa's legacy, are her tragic opposite. For Priscilla, Teresa's death marks the beginning of her descent into madness and a constant tension between her godlike power and the trauma she inflicted on those around her. Teresa's death, as a direct result of Priscilla's awakening, becomes a defining moment of her character, one that she can never entirely escape. Although Priscilla does not fully comprehend the gravity of her actions after awakening, her guilt and self-loathing are pervasive throughout her character arc. She unconsciously views Teresa's death as something that defines her existence. Priscilla becomes lost, and her brain appears to be hollow. However, she doesn't fully acknowledge this impacts on her. Her arrogance and inability to grasp the depth of her cruelty makes her more dangerous. In some ways, Priscilla is still haunted by Teresa's death. In their battle, Teresa bested Priscilla, but decided to show compassion and spare Priscilla. When Teresa let her guard down, that's when Priscilla was able to strike and take Teresa's life. Priscilla never allows herself to confront this loss. The trauma and denial of Priscilla's take on Teresa still haunts and devastates her. Priscilla was on a mission to take down Teresa, who the organization deemed as a monster who killed humans and disobeyed the organization. However, in their battle, Teresa's kindness and compassion to spare Priscilla caused an internal conflict within Priscilla. As the story progresses, it becomes clear that Priscilla's continued obsession with Teresa's power and humanity drives her insane. Her power as an awakened being is unmatched, but without Teresa's balance, Priscilla is lost in a sea of conflicting emotions. Priscilla's increasingly coldness and detachment are the twisted mirror image of Teresa's humanity. Priscilla may have killed Teresa, but the real consequence of this act is that she never manages to understand or tap into the core of what made Teresa so unique and powerful, which is her love and control over her humanity. Ultimately, Priscilla's fate is tied to Claire, who grows from a vengeful child to a force against Priscilla's power. The other Claymores, the silent witnesses to the price of humanity. For the other Claymores, Teresa's death represents a tragic and harsh truth about the world. Many of them are already hardened and broken individuals, but Teresa's death casts a long shadow over the way they see themselves and their roles in the organization. Rocky, the young boy who becomes Claire's companion after Teresa's death, is also deeply impacted. Although he wasn't directly involved in the battle or Teresa's death, his relationship with Claire makes him more aware of the human cost of war between Claymores and awakened beings. His love for Claire is built on Teresa's memory, and he sees Claire's journey as a constant struggle between love and loss. As Rocky grows, he often reflects on how the sacrifice of powerful figures like Teresa was necessary for the survival of those they loved. Maria, Denevie, and Helen, these three Claymores, who become Claire's closest companions, are also affected by Teresa's legacy in various ways. Maria, in particular, is reminded of the fragility of the Claymore's humanity when she hears of Teresa's fate. Like Teresa, Maria is driven by the belief that there must be something beyond the organization's cruel system. Genevieve and Helen have seen firsthand what happens to Claymores who lose their humanity or die in battle, and Teresa's death only solidifies their cynicism. However, their bond with Claire, who fights in the memory of Teresa, pushes them to become more than cold, calculated warriors. They are reminded of the human side of their struggle, something that they thought had been lost forever. The organization's cold response. The organization's reaction to Teresa's death reveals their true nature. They see her as just another warrior who outlived her usefulness. Teresa's death, though tragic, doesn't faze the organization as much as it does the other characters. It highlights the coldness of the organization, which treats its claymores as mere tools of war, devoid of any emotional investment in the lives of its warriors. For the organization, Teresa's death is just another casualty of war, another loss in their endless conflict with the Yoma. This cold detachment further reinforces the theme of humanity being extinguished in this brutal, unforgiving world. The thematic impact, the loss of innocence, and the price of power. Beyond the characters directly impacted by Teresa's death, her sacrifice has a large thematic significance for the entire world of Claymore. Teresa's death underscores the cost of mercy and humanity in a brutal world. Her act of sparing Claire and sparing Priscilla, her choice to protect human life even at her own expense, stands in stark contrast to the ruthless pragmatism of the organization. Teresa's compassion ultimately becomes the very thing that leads to her downfall, yet her humanity is what makes her powerful and meaningful to the story. In a world where power and survival often come at the cost of one's soul, Teresa's death is a tragic reminder that even the strongest warriors can be undone by their compassion and love. For Claire, Teresa's death represents the loss of innocence. She is thrust into a violent world of vengeance where her idealism is shattered and replaced by the cold reality of the war. For many of the Claymores, Teresa was the last embodiment of hope and purity, and her death signifies the final destruction of that innocence. After Teresa's fall, Claire and the other warriors are forced to accept that, in their world, even the strongest must fall. In sum, Teresa's death is the fulcrum upon which Claymore pivots. It changes everything for the characters who loved and revered her, forces Claire into the painful path of vengeance and self-discovery, and reminds us of the cost of humanity in a world where monsters rule and compassion can be fatal. That concludes this lore. If you like what you heard, please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next lore. Bye.